Welcome everyone to the Horgan Bros podcast.
Yes.
Good to be back. We haven't done one in a while.
It's been some time.
Welcome,
We've
children.
been working on some fun stuff in the meantime.
We're here with our roommate Jackie. We're going to be talking about some science stuff.
Yes, today we've got a fun one. We're going to do the science special.
Oh yeah.
We're just going to talk about the fun science that they should have been talking about in school.
Yep.
This is the fun part of science, if you ask us.
I will be speaking on behalf of the masses.
Yeah.
I have a very little understanding of the topics to be discussed this evening.
We're no experts either, but
Yeah. I think the main point is that we're
going
to
to be
be
my first
talking about.
exposure with some of the stuff that you're about to talk about.
well,
I'm
maybe.
excited.
Anyhow,
It's a mystery.
before we get to all that, we do want to play some music for you guys. This is what we've been working on while we haven't been podcasting. So first we're going to play one that me and Davis have been working on, and then we got a little little preview of a rap tune, both of which you can keep an eye out for being released pretty soon. But without further ado, let's just play some music here.
Some people don't wanna be free. Some people like you and me. Fighting in the dark, we just wanna find peace. And you tell me understand, and I reach out my hand.
And then we got one.
Fit the bags in two. Got blue honeys in my crib. Like who are you? Like who are you? Fit the bags in two. Got two honeys in my crib. Like who are you? Like who are you? Who are you? You are nobody, nigga. I got more bodies, nigga. Like more paper on my phone. I got more shotties. Singing light a candle 'cause it's lit. On the speakers 'cause it's lit. Like the blunt 'cause it's lit. Let me smoke it 'cause it's yeah. They be trying to get their grind up, so I signed up. We gon' hit the boards. I be chillin' with the convicts and the bigger boys. She be sucking on my fine dick. If she go to you, nigga, she might have to find it. But nigga, I ain't minded. Business in the witness, I'm the realest in this business. Smoking dope, there ain't no limit. Hocus pocus for the living. I got trouble before I live. Special water on these diamonds, got you slipping to the drip. In my mind, you take a trip. We all out to reminisce, but you take another sip. It's so sickening. I'm tired of all this motherfucking bickering. Why don't you take a seat and get to listening? Thanks you got blue honeys in my crib. Like who are you?
Yeah.
Like who are you?
So those are just two tunes.
Ooh.
Just
Oh,
a
so good.
little preview of those two songs.
I don't want it to stop.
Those will be coming soon. When
So
we're
good.
when we're better at not procrastinating.
Hey,
Yep.
we're great at procrastinating.
All right. Well, you guys want to talk about some cool stuff? I have
I'm ready for science.
on the front of my list a couple of things. But I don't know if you had any cool ideas you wanted to
Should we
talk
start
about
with
too.
the Big Bang?
I'll always start with the Big Bang.
Sure. I mean, that's like
That's
diving
what
right the
started
fuck
it.
in.
Yeah. I mean, it's the start of the universe, you know.
All
Oof,
right.
Can't go back now.
What do you guys know about the Big Bang?
I'm not
You-
a fucking expert.
You
That's
guys
for sure.
start. You guys start.
Right.
I don't know that much about the Big Bang. I know the idea is something called the singularity suddenly expanded into
Yep.
everything.
So the concept is that
Which, I mean,
all
come
the
on.
matter,
That's like, so how do you... That's not... I can't...
all the matter
conceptualize
in the
that.
universe was essentially compact into an infinitesimally small, infinitely dense, infinitely hot, infinitely massive object, and then it spontaneously expanded into the entire universe.
Ooh.
And the reason we know about the Big Bang is because we can see when we look at stars in the distant galaxies. And like I'm not entirely sure why, but we know for some reason that there should be a certain color that these lights give off. You know what I mean?
You're getting into like the redshift.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. The redshift.
Yeah, I
the
don't really
redshift.
understand the redshift well enough to explain that.
Yeah, it has to do with the Doppler effect. So when like
Doppler radar.
when you ever hear like a car, like a siren moving away from you,
You know
and
the
it's like,
Doppler effect.
woo, woo, it goes away. It goes woo, woo, woo,
Yeah.
woo, like gets lower in pitch.
Okay.
Because what's happening is as it's driving away, the source of the sound wave is moving farther away, so the sound wave actually expands.
Well, it arrives less frequently. The
Is
wave.
this in relativity to the? Are you just
Your
on
ear.
a new subject
Your-
than the Big Bang? Where
Well, we're kind of talking about the redshift.
Yeah. So
The
this is
redshift, okay.
how
And this is a
we
similar
see the
concept of
the redshift is another
Doppler
example
effect.
of the Doppler effect.
Okay.
So what's happening is these light sources are moving away from us.
Oh,
Well,
wow.
hang on. Let's
Oh,
finish explaining the Doppler effect. I mean, that's-
Sorry, I gotta ask questions
Do you know
as they
that one?
come.
You know, I don't want to like.
I know
I think
Doppler
there's
radar.
plenty of people who don't totally understand the Doppler
Yeah,
effect.
so explain it to us. But I gotta ask questions
So
when they come.
sound arrives in frequencies, like waves in certain
Yeah.
frequencies.
Yes, that is. I feel
And
like
the
that's
more
known.
frequent they arrive, the more high pitched they are.
Yes, that sounds.
And so as something moves away from you and it's emitting sound, the faster it's moving away, the less frequently the sound waves will arrive.
That's fascinating.
Inversely, if it's coming towards you, the sound waves arrive more frequently.
And that's
and
called
that's
blue
why
shifting.
cars go.
Oh, that is so fascinating.
Yeah.
It's just you never really sit down and.
But so the
Put that into
redshift
focus. Okay, the redshift.
applies that same kind of concept to light.
Yeah.
and
So
how-
basically, instead of the sound waves not arriving in the right time periods, it's the light waves get stretched out,
Okay.
and they look more red than they should,
That's crazy.
and that's why it's called red shifting.
That is fascinating.
And we can use this to determine, like say, okay, this looks like it's this far away, but we know it's really this far away, and we can like trace back all the points and project into the past and realize that all matter was essentially
You know,
compact.
That's
It-
amazing.
The whole thing about the redshift reminded me of like the blue and the black dress thing, because
Yeah,
I finally
yeah.
definitively figured it out.
That was a frustrating time for the internet.
I've still never seen like a really, really good, thorough explanation of it.
Yeah.
And actually, I think I'm gonna try to do one here.
Oh, did you research it?
Yeah,
Excellent. Like, explain
I
it to
know.
us, please.
I thoroughly understand the blue and the black dress phenomenon.
Explain.
So,
Internet.
kind of like we were saying, light is, you can see it in frequencies, low frequencies and high frequencies.
Okay.
I got all sorts of notes here
I
about
love it. He's got manic notes. Okay.
The
Maybe it's too loud.
the low frequency lights look yellow. The high frequency lights look blue,
Okay.
right? And then you got like in between. So,
That's awesome.
the
He
thing
knows his stuff.
the thing about like light and the color temperature is what they refer to when they're talking about the color of the light, whether it's like warm or cold, blue or yellow.
It's the color of which steel glows, right, at that
Yeah.
temperature.
That's why they say 3200 degrees Kelvin,
Right, Kelvin, yeah.
because when you heat a piece of steel that hot, it glows that color. I don't fucking know how that worked the fuck out and how they even figured that out.
That's why
but-
this is amazing.
So,
Somebody has figured
for
this
whatever reason, yeah. And then, so you've got like two ways you can measure light and the color of it. In the hertz frequencies, like how frequent the light waves arrive, or in degrees Kelvin.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying?
out. Yes.
Right.
I actually have a theory that scientists
So
just
that would be
realized
like-
that about steel, and we're like, whoa, that's fucking cool as shit. Let's use that to talk about light, because that's just an interesting correlation.
They probably did.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe.
Scientists are just kids
But
who
anyhow-
never stop being curious.
That's sort of a tangent, but I want to kind of get a better concept of light going on here. And
That
the
is
color.
Right,
fascinating,
because
though.
light
You never
is
really s-
weird.
Because the low frequencies, like I said, are the low degrees Kelvin, and that's like, that was my actual phone.
Turn
The
that
low
off.
frequency light, low degrees Kelvin, that looks yellow. The high frequency light, blue light, that's high degrees Kelvin. So, that said, there's always some kind of color of light lighting anything that you're looking at, a room or a scene in a picture, you know?
Okay.
And your brain assumes whatever color that light is. Most of the time, the light is going to be like a yellow, warm light. That's tungsten. That's like what you see from the filaments that glow in the old school light bulbs.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's blue light. That can be like a CFL bulb sometimes, or an LED light. Sometimes it's like white light or something in between. But generally speaking, your brain is used to seeing like blue or yellow light. And it will subtract the color of that light from the scene to try to see what the colors really are.
That's crazy.
So with the picture of the blue and the black dress, people's brains were assuming the light was either blue or yellow. And so when the light...
For example, like my brain assumed that it was yellow, and so I saw it as blue and black.
I saw gold and white.
When
Right.
the light
And I was like,
is
I was
seen as
defiant
blue,
that it was gold and white.
can't
you'll
see
see
that
it as
way.
white and gold
Can't
because
see
your
the blue.
brain is taking out the blue colors. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Your
I
brain
do, it's just
is saying the
fascinating.
light is blue, so let me pull out whatever looks blue, and you're left with like white and gold.
So the science
But when
behind
your
it.
brain thinks the light is yellow, it'll pull out yellow colors, and you'll be left with darker blue and black colors.
That's crazy. For everyone who was fighting over what color it was, we're all right. Everyone's.
Well,
Well,
that's a
Except
good
Davis.
question.
Davis
that
is
gets
wrong
to
because
the
he said black.
that gets to like that classic is my green your red. You know,
Yeah, my dad's
like,
colorblind as
But I think
shit.
this is a situation where there's no subjectivity to it. Your brain was misfunctioning and perceived it wrong.
There is actually
telling me my
a
brain is
fact-
misfunctioning.
there is a
look.
genuine fact of like we can identify what
Right.
kind of light was lighting that scene.
Mhm.
That is true. As far as like we can observe, like we can look at what light was used in that room that was being shed on the blue and the black dress.
So it is
Or just
wrong,
something with
right?
not that particular frame and like certain particular lighting or exposure, you know what I mean?
That's
The
why you
illusion
saw all
doesn't
the
work.
pictures
Yeah.
of people changing, like tinting it and
That's
shit,
crazy.
Right, yeah.
because they're trying to.
This was like an online war, this dress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this, like, calm down. It's okay. There's science behind
There's
it.
even more of them too. There's like there's this like Adidas
Yeah,
hoodie that
there's-
like
I've
people
seen
can
that
see
one.
Wait,
in
what's
3
the
different
Adidas
colors.
hoodie? Can we pull that one up for
Yeah,
the
that
folks
one.
at home?
I haven't seen that one.
There's also
in
a
while.
sound. Can you explain the sound one?
Laurel Yanny has to do
It's
with
Laurel.
overtones.
Laurel, just for those at home.
That
Laurel.
one is very, very tricky, very fascinating.
That's a fascinating one, though.
because every sound, like for example, you can play the note bum and the same note bum on a
What?
piano,
Let's
and
see.
it'll sound different.
Corey, can you pull this up later?
This is that
and put
dress
on the-
fuckery.
the-
Yeah,
There it is.
I think that's
Science.
probably okay, but most people are probably just gonna listen.
yeah, if you're just
so.
listening, you'll
Sorry.
have to just Google the Adidas.
Just
you know,
trust us.
Adidas hoodie. color
Adidas
thing.
jacket color illusion is all I typed.
So
is
what
the
is it?
first thing.
Is it
What
black
col-
or
what
is
color
It
do you
looks
see?
teal.
I see teal.
I see green and gold.
Gold? You
Green
see
and
gold.
Green
That's
and gold.
just
yeah.
not right.
The white
There's
part
no gold,
is gold.
folks.
Yep.
There's no gold.
That's gold. That's green right
There's
there.
no gold.
Yeah, I don't know. See,
Yeah.
because there's so
That's
many
just
variations
wild.
in the color temperature of light, it could be so
Holy
many
shit.
things, and your brain could interpret it so many ways.
My dad brought me home an iHome once.
But there
that
is
was-
only
oh, fuck
one-
that story.
One, like, we can measure the type of light, and there is only one that is
Right.
shining in that scene. Kind of like you were saying. But yeah, we got on this from the Redshift. I don't really
Yeah,
know,
yeah, how
know
about
too
that?
much more about the Redshift, but I did want to talk about the Robo Roach a little bit.
The Robo Roach. Yeah. Have you learned anything more about the Robo Roach?
Well, I
Oh,
wanted to
damn
review it for anybody who didn't
Yeah.
hear it in the first podcast I talked about it with, because it's just so fucked and
The Robo
so
Roach.
interesting. Yeah.
That's so fucked.
So there's like a $10 or a $20 kit you can buy online that will let you turn a living cockroach into a cyborg.
how
that you can-
affordable, by the way.
Yeah, you can.
That's
you got to get
horrifying.
the cockroach sold
Like-
separately.
Literal
Um,
necromancy.
That's just
You
fucked.
can-
$20 away.
They're not even. Well, does that imply that
Oh,
they're
actually,
dead?
it's not necromancy.
Yeah,
it's,
because they're alive.
yeah,
they
it's just-
can't be dead, actually.
Oh my
Yeah, it's more mind control.
Kind of twisted.
It's
yeah.
so fucked.
But so you can literally
Sorry for swearing.
Bluetooth connect your phone to
No,
a cockroach.
No, you can't.
Yeah, and
what
you
purpose? That's too much control.
you literally like while it's walking, you can swipe left and it'll turn, and you swipe right, he'll turn that way.
That's gonna be us
And
in
it's
100
like,
years, guys.
You just fucking clip a. You gotta ice bath him so he is knocked out. You clip his antenna and stick a wire in it. You glue like a thing on the back of his head and poke a hole in his shoulder and stick another wire down there, and you're fucking. He wakes up and he's a cyborg.
That's just that.
It's wild.
I'd rather just feed it to my lizard. Than
What's kind of
that's fucking
right.
What else
mind
is
control.
kind of crazy?
There's gonna be some human centipede shit going on.
What we ended up talking about a little bit was how, we've also done things where you can take the impulse from someone's hand, making a fist and pulling up, and like put it through a machine and then connect it to another person's arm, and it'll cause their arm to twitch.
Oh my god.
Right, yeah.
And it's a, you can really just do it from a computer, but it's a cooler demonstration to send it from another person's arm. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But
I don't know how I feel about all this.
Well, I mean, that shows the promise for prosthetics and
does.
like human.
If it's used correctly.
What do you
and
call
it also, like, for me, it's like, I wonder so much, like, I think of Gecko Moria in One Piece, or any of those, like, classic, like, Frankenstein scientists. It's, like, kind of crazy to think, like, they can do that, but the thing has to be alive.
It's so creepy.
You know what I mean?
What do you mean by that?
Like,
You can't do it if
you
you're
can't
dead.
take, like, a dead cockroach and turn it on. You know what I mean?
Right.
It needs to be
Yeah.
alive.
It's kind of like, reanimating a person. The classic, like, Indian ritual. Like,
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like taking like an
Kinda
old
show
dilapidated
hopes or whatever.
house, you know what I mean, and trying to like get everything going again. Like that would just be very
Well, but think
difficult.
about-
I don't know. Rather than just like build a new house. you
I
know?
think about, though,
this is a
the
person.
split-second difference
Or a
between a
cockroach.
living person and a dead person. Or a living anything and a dead anything. And how, like, something very slight could change about the being, and no longer could it be animated. You know what I mean? Like the cockroach, it could just barely die. You know what I mean? Like your dilapidated house implies that it's like a rotted, no longer functional.
Right.
But then again, I guess it is like, what makes something impossible to like reanimate? It's like one of those like questions I think every like culture has probably wondered, and
I think it just gets.
Sketched at the cockroach bot.
it's
I can't
it's,
get that
it's
out
crazy.
Of my head. A roach bot. That's just. I mean, where does it stop? You got control of the roach? Yeah, you're not enough. You go try it on grandma. Like, what
Yeah.
do you do?
Yeah,
Are you kidding me?
it's crazy to think about. But so
Where does
I
it
don't know.
stop?
That also made me think about oh yeah, the
I knew it was
computer
coming.
announces the time.
It's 8 o'clock.
Robo Roach and rat neurons.
Oh, what's going on with the rats, Cory?
So I also
Not the
found out
rats.
some scientists
I have
did
a rat
this
for
crazy
those-
shit where
those at
they
home.
took like what is it? University of Florida scientists created a living brain of culture rat cells. Yeah, all right. So they took like rat neurons in a petri dish, and it made it into a living brain that controls an F-52 fighter jet simulator.
What? Can you go back?
Yeah, elaborate, please.
No, you need to go back and just.
So it's not even like AI controlling.
Right, because it's organic intelligence.
It's like trained organic neurons or something.
How did
Whoa,
you figure this
okay.
shit out?
And and it's
you know what I
kind of
mean?
like biocomputers or something. I get the idea that that's like, and it's like, wow, that's like a certain mass of that, and you have like something that's like as complex as a human brain.
That's
you know?
wild. That's wild.
That's pretty
The
crazy.
advancement
So that
in
could be
science
like,
to
you
come
know,
up with that.
That could be unmanned airplanes.
Oof.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
But is that ethical? Like, are there ethical
Yeah, right?
questions to get into when
well,
we're talking
I'm
about?
having
Of course,
Moral
I mean,
that's
crisis
the
here.
thing.
I think there's ethical
Well,
questions
that's
to get into with.
I think that's honestly the similarity between this and Robo Roach.
And also AI, you know what I mean?
And
Is
AI.
Any
Well,
kind
people
of
are always talking about that with AI. I don't know.
I feel like it's different
What
to
the
grow
AI
in a
thing
petri
is.
dish because I don't know. A roach is more developed. It seems like less humane to do it to a roach than it would be to grow artificial intelligence to grow organic intelligence in a petri dish.
Yeah. Because you're working with less of a being
Yeah.
as a starting point.
But then,
you know?
I mean, there's always that's a spectrum there. That moral.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy
Where does
shit.
it stop?
Did you hear about like the self-driving car parking itself thing?
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
if you
smart
need it,
park.
yeah, I think if you can't park the car, you can't drive.
So
So-
what about this? A smart car parking itself runs a stop sign in the parking lot and is pulled over.
Yeah.
Who is liable?
Wasn't there actually a case where this happened?
I don't know if
There's
it was real or
this
not, but
actually
there was a
happened?
video of a cop pulling over a smart car that was driving itself.
Like, what's
And it
wrong
was a
with
matter of, well, the owner of the car was not the driver. He was not
Right.
driving the car.
So how do you give that person
And
a ticket?
so, if anything, the person who was operating the car was the operating system designed by Elon Musk's Tesla.
This is like
Yeah.
it's a problem that didn't need to be a problem. Is what it
Isn't that
is.
ridiculous.
But what if it's sort of like a situation where, like, you should just park the damn thing yourself?
Well,
like,
what
that
about-
thing
That's
is
what I'm
gonna like
saying.
mess up or do something wrong.
gets
You know?
into
Either
like,
way, you
what
shouldn't
about
lose that
if
skill. You should
all
know how to
s-
park your car.
Imagine if you were at
I
a point
agree.
where self-driving cars were like people are sleeping while their car is driving,
That's
and it causes a major accident.
yeah, that's not worth it in my eyes.
At that point, well, here's an argument for automation that I think is actually fucking
I'm sure
both
there are
hilarious
pros.
and excellent.
Let's hear it.
You know the doors that you open up when you go through the store? They sense you and they just
Yeah,
open up for you.
sometimes they don't work. And
Well,
they make
imagine
you look like
if
a real
two guys
dick.
were just standing there and the two dudes were supposed to fucking Jerry and fucking Henry.
Jerry and Mike.
Yeah.
I got a better solution. Open the fucking door yourself. Like, doesn't that just seem like
Hey,
maybe open
she
the
raises
door?
a good point.
And how about maybe hold it open for the person behind you?
Mm.
Let's hold on a bit of a humanity there.
I guess the question is,
Corey's gonna stump me
not
right now.
everybody's able to open doors as well.
That's why you
Yeah,
you
there's some
help
people.
Because we're talking ultimately
what if-
about
Help
cars.
What if
people
somebody
open doors.
tried to open the door and they were so bad at it that they killed like a family of 5? Because
remember
that's
the
what
Chaos
driving is
video?
like. You know what I mean? It would be great if everyone was able to drive, but some people just are not going to do it safely. You know what I mean? And not only that, even if you do it safely, you're never going to be as good as a computer, I think, once we really get to the point.
But we don't need. I don't know. I just think in the wild, it's fight or flight. It's the same shit, just add a little bit more metal. You got to just be able to drive the car. This doesn't need to be. What's the most beneficial thing to come out of self-driving cars? Ones that can drive
I think
when they're so that we know the con is it can get into a horrible
Well, imagine
accident.
if
Well, I
public
think the only thing is, like-
transportation became like a human right.
and I hold on, let me just
No,
say, I
I'm
think
just going
so like
spitball.
you're just like humans suck at driving cars, and we're going to develop computers that are going to be
Yeah, what if
way
it was
better
just
at
so
it.
perfect
To the
that
point
it
where
was-
it's like once we have all self-driving cars, you're gonna see like one accident every like fucking 10 years or some shit, and you're gonna be like, holy fuck, people used to drive these things
Well,
themselves. Like,
yeah,
I
that's
just-
true.
it's just gonna be a totally
That's
different
honestly,
world,
it does seem
you
like
know?
the most likely thing to me.
That seems like some crazy,
And it's gonna be
like,
scary
gridlock
switching-
utopia where it's just robot cars all
Yeah.
the time, and we're just. Have you ever seen Wall-E? It's like that. We're just gonna be we're gonna be upright and still, talking through computers if this shit continues. And I don't know what it is with the R&B, but they're like, I gotta get all these fuckers behind the wheel of a car. I don't care how bad they are at driving. I gotta give them a license. Every single one of them. You're right.
But yeah, imagine
Computers
if
are better.
all of those people were now just like robots that could communicate with each other and like knew exactly where
All right.
each other were going and how
Question.
fast and where they needed to be so that they wouldn't hit each other.
I have a question then.
Sure.
All right, so you send your car, do you program your car, like go to the grocery store? Like, what are you using
It's
this
Uber.
self-driving car for?
Yeah, it's like Uber.
Oh, so you're in the car.
Yeah, it's
You
your
probably
car.
don't
I'm all
even
for
own
that.
cars. I don't
Yeah.
even know.
Or yeah, maybe not. It just fucking comes and picks you up. or
No,
something.
I think that's. I don't know where I was thinking, but that sounds like a nice time.
Yeah, you don't have to like shit
I'm
faced
thinking
in the
of just
bar.
like
go
nobody
home,
in the
like, you're
car,
just-
and all these cars are just driving. All right, if we're in the car, I'm
Oh,
all for
yeah,
it.
yeah.
I own a 180 there. That's what we're. This is what
What
we're
about,
learning. We're
um,
learning.
Well, what
on
if
the
it's like
podcast.
driving like
Commercial-
important tomatoes to like the town
That's
hall?
where I draw the line because
You
it's
think
like
tomatoes don't
Self-driving
get to-
tomatoes?
if it becomes a courier system, I think we should not. Do you know? Do you know what a courier is?
But what if you
Like-
forgot
like to
your?
bring stuff
Yes.
places?
You go send
Okay.
someone to go get something, and they bring it back to you.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so see, I got
Courier
knowledge.
pigeon.
A courier pigeon. Excellent,
Yeah.
Saya. Am I screaming, by the way?
No, I think
Nah,
we're
you're
fine.
good.
Pretty
What
loud.
about commercial space travel?
Oh God,
What do you think
space.
of that?
Yeah.
Commercial space travel.
Yeah. Like rich
what did you-
people just buying a trip
Oh,
around
fuck
the moon.
rich people.
I think we're gonna
The moon
be
gets
seeing some stuff
colonized
like
by
that.
Hawaii.
Send Mariah Carey to the moon.
Colonized by
Hawaii?
Oh man, imagine that. The thing that pushed space exploration further was vacation
Yeah,
fucking getaways.
Mahalo.
I would be all for that. If that's what it takes.
Yeah.
Actually maybe not. We might be like fucking destroying the solar system, not even just Earth at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. But I think what is it? Virgin Galactic or something?
Yeah. What's his?
That dude has already sold like tickets
Yeah, I've heard.
for
and
people to go to space.
I've heard Mariah Carey discussing or
Um,
whispering about going to space. I say get her up there. Let her be the first one. to see it.
Elon Musk wants to be having tourist trips around the moon.
Elon
Yeah,
Musk
that's pretty
is doing
crazy.
a lot of stuff.
I feel like that would scare the shit out of me.
Yeah,
I
Yeah.
love space and all, but like
No,
no.
yeah, I love
I'd be like,
space.
fuck,
and
fuck,
for
fuck,
how
fuck.
much I love space, I would not go into space.
Yeah, I'm good.
I mean, think of like the astronauts.
How about this? The
They're sent there by
International
the
Space
professionals.
Station is about 200 miles away, right?
Okay.
Fucking flying around the Earth fast, 9 times faster than a bullet. That's how fast they got to go to keep, from falling back into Earth.
And think of how fast a bullet is.
And so that's where they are, 200 miles away. The moon is like 200,000 miles away.
That's crazy.
And yeah, that is
Yeah.
super
It's
duper
inconceivable.
far.
Yeah, it's like hard to imagine.
Yeah, another thing that I like, this kind of conceptualizes like size of like the solar system and stuff. You ever see the pictures where all the planets are in the
Oh
same?
yeah. Mm-hmm.
If you zoomed out far enough to see all the planets at the same time, you wouldn't be able to see
any of them.
a single one because they'd be like microscopic on the
Yeah,
page.
that's
Would
you be able to see the
inconceivable.
sun?
You can't
That's how
comprehend
far
that.
away
I feel like
they
you
are.
would like barely be able to see the sun, if anything.
Yeah, I
it's
don't
like
know.
A
I don't
small
know
little clip.
if you
Oh,
can
jeez.
see the sun actually, but
I've seen that picture. It's wild. And the fact that they were able to figure out
Space is mostly
how
empty.
big it is fucking crazy.
But yeah, most of the universe is empty space.
That's just bananas.
That's why,
to
like,
think about.
do you know what interstellar space means?
Please tell us, Cory.
Yes.
We're dying to know. Well,
Yeah.
he knows,
It's
and he
space
knows.
between stars.
Anyone else out there not know?
The solar
I hear
systems.
a couple. Why don't you tell us?
In between solar systems, yeah, it's like
Oh.
the space in between
I knew
stars.
that.
A star has like a
These idiots.
a star has like some kind of what is it? Just like it's like a bubble around it. They call it a heliosphere or something.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's something like that.
It,
Yeah, I
like,
think it's called the
keeps-
heliosphere.
It
Yeah.
keeps all the stuff
Heliosphere.
out that is not within like a certain.
Looking it up.
You
I
should,
am.
yeah.
Heliosphere.
But anyway, so
it takes 2 seconds to fact check things.
when
guys.
you get out of get into interstellar space, I should say, you are now observing materials that are much older because they are not created from the same time that our solar system was created. And we have, I think it's only 2 things that have ever gone to interstellar space. Maybe 3.
That's wild.
2 of them are Voyager 1 and 2.
Voyager.
They were from 1977, and they are cool as shit.
Let's hear about Voyager 1 and Voyager 2. Which we should know. This should all have been taught to
It
us.
was in November
every attainable fashion.
2018 that Voyager 2 entered interstellar space.
When was it?
November of 2018.
Recently.
And that was after 41 years of flying.
That
through
is
space.
crazy.
That's 18.5 billion miles it traveled, visiting 4 planets. And yeah.
That's wild.
One of my favorite things about it is they have the golden records. You know about the golden records.
No, I don't know
Oh
about the
yeah,
golden
yeah. With
records.
what's his face's little penis they drew on it.
What? They put a
What?
penis on it?
Yeah.
Penis
They
on
didn't
it.
put a penis on the...
No,
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 way.
no. I'm thinking of the moon. The moon has
They put a
penis.
dick on the moon?
There's
Yep.
got to be a dick
Yep.
on
Andy
everything,
Warhol.
doesn't there? Andy Warhol.
Really?
Swear to God, yeah. It's supposed to be his initials. It's like AW.
That's
And he just drew a
incredible.
little line through it. It just looks like a penis. You know what I
Well-
mean? But it's on this tiny tile that they like sent up to the moon, along with other like abstract art and like other art pieces. It's like a tiny art gallery on the moon,
about
basically.
that?
No way.
I didn't know that.
I
Yep.
didn't either, and this
On the
is fascinating.
Voyager spacecraft,
41
they
years.
have...
I keep
But
hitting.
no,
it.
those are
can
golden
get cozy
records.
with
It's
that.
like
I can't.
But
get
yeah,
cozy
I'll
with
let you
it.
explain.
They
How do I get cozy?
they encoded information, and it's a golden record that what actually is the information? I forget it. I think you can, once you figure out like how to interpret it, like it's kind of like code 0s and 1s or something like that, but it's on a vinyl record. I don't even know. You like have to interpret the sound waves, and then it's a really elaborate thing. But you get a certain measurement, and then you measure these things, and either way, once you get it, like you can get all these images of things from Earth, and then when you listen to the record, it's just like all these sounds of Earth and like wild shit.
That's
It's pretty
wild.
cool. And they say the information will last 1 billion years.
That's
So like for 1 billion years, there's a possibility that some other life form could just like stumble across it and be like, "What the fuck?"
that is freaking crazy.
Yeah, I love that shit.
Yeah, it contains
Cory has done
sounds
his
and
homework.
images selected to portray the diversity of life.
Wait,
and
we were
culture
looking
on
up
Earth.
heliosphere before that. Prior to that, we were looking up heliosphere.
Oh yeah, is that what they call the?
Yeah, that is. Yeah, heliosphere.
Hey, look at my
Heliosphere.
vocab.
Heliosphere.
Oh yeah. We were talking about empty space though. One thing that I find fascinating is our universe. I mean, not our universe. Our galaxy, the Milky Way, is eventually going to combine with the Andromeda galaxy, our closest neighbor, and in the process, like the two galaxies will merge together. The supermassive black holes at the center of each universe will combine, and it'll become one galaxy.
That
Yeah,
And in the process,
outlandish.
chaos,
like,
like
no.
destruction, right?
no, you would imagine that.
Yeah, I would have guessed.
But the
shit
thing
must
is,
slam
everything
together.
is so far away. There's so much empty space that
Yeah.
nothing interferes with each other. Like solar systems aren't going to be disturbed,
That is
through the merging of these two
bananas.
enormous like
Wow.
celestial bodies.
That's funny because we were just talking about all the space that's in
Yeah.
between.
That's bananas.
Huh?
What?
But yeah, it's mostly empty out here.
So if you feel alone, you are.
You are, yeah.
Yeah.
Alone as shit out here.
We're on a spinning rock and nobody talks about it.
You know,
Joe Rogan.
the Mars landing stuff is one of my favorite other topics.
Do
I
explain.
love-
Yeah.
Let's talk
love
about the Mars.
The Mars. One of the things that I was shocked about, I actually had a social media post about when Insight landed on Mars.
Ooh.
And I had a person tell me, "Oh, please, this is such obvious fake stuff."
The
And, like-
Mars stuff was?
Yeah. That the
whole
NASA
thing,
was
huh?
making it all up about being on Mars and being on the moon.
They
or
were
whatever.
faking it, huh? That's what he said?
And I was like, "Goodness gracious!"
Okay.
I don't just like listen to someone and say, "Oh, screw off, you're an idiot." I'm curious, like
Yeah.
maybe he knows something I don't.
Or at least just hear the other side. That's
Yeah.
just what adults do.
One of the things that
What
I
a douche.
realized with a lot of these things, people point to these areas of doubt,
Oh.
like, this seems strange and I don't understand it.
Eyes on your own paper, Jackie.
Don't-
Eyes on your own paper.
So they'll say like, maybe this is the case or maybe that is the case, but it's like your foundation for that claim is like, it's not even like you're building a something in sand. Like, you don't got a foundation. You're just basing it out of lack of knowing something. You know what I'm saying?
It always amazes me, these people
So-
who say, like, you can't prove this.
It's also not
You
productive.
can't prove that.
What he
That's
said.
why aliens are the leaders of Washington. It's like,
Yeah.
you can't fucking prove that either. Like, what are you...
It's not
So-
productive.
Well,
It's just, you're not
hard
going
to
to
say
get
what is
anywhere.
and isn't productive. That's, I guess,
Just slamming down
up to
the
the
opposing
person.
ideas. Okay, you're right.
subjective. But
Oh, he's so diplomatic, Corey.
Uh,
Corey's
Yeah.
one diplomatic
Yeah.
motherfucker.
But what I have a problem with that is, like, okay, so one of the things he said to me was, you know, how come they can't film a landing on Mars with all the technology we have? How come they can't just get a camera there? All we get
Because-
is animations. Come on, that's such a red flag. That's so fake. And so what I would say is,
Did he
well
even
then,
look
But
into
people
it?
believe in Jesus.
well, that's what I would say. Then look in. Okay.
That's all I'm saying.
there. Oh, okay. Well,
Can you cut that out?
no,
I'm just
we're
saying.
not gonna touch that
I'm
one.
just saying. They speak as fact. That's all I'm saying.
So
There are two
why
sides
can't
to
we
every
film
story.
it? Is a question you could find out. Why do they say we can't film it? And I actually have looked into quite a bit about how we land on Mars, and if you really thoroughly understand it, to me it makes some sense why it's so difficult to film something like that.
Can you explain what your findings are? Like, why do
So,
you think
yeah.
it's so difficult to film on Mars?
At the closest time from like Earth to Mars, when they're, you know, closest to each other, because sometimes, you know, you'll be on the opposite side of the sun.
Yeah.
That's an 8-month trip.
8-month trip.
We blast our rockets off and send the thing through space, and it's
Love blasting
traveling. Yeah, blast your rockets off, man. And so it takes 8 months to get there, and then after 8 months of traveling, you got a thing that's so far away that to send a command to it is gonna be, you know, like 10 minutes. It's gonna take like 10 minutes to respond and receive the command. So you already are working with something that you can't control in real time. You know what I mean? You have to you have to measure like its trajectory, see where it's going, and pre-program it to you know, go where it's supposed to go and do its thing.
It just makes so much
Not
sense
to mention,
when you
like,
break
this
it down
shit doesn't
like that.
go as they
So
plan.
you're
Yeah.
also going fast as shit.
Right.
Super fucking fast. Like, I forget the exact number, but it's faster than the speed of sound, because as you enter the atmosphere, this all has to be automated. Like, it's doing it itself, because like I said, if you can't control it like a joystick from Earth, because
Right.
of
It's going to take
10-minute delay,
Yeah.
8-minute delay or something. Yeah, it can vary, because, yeah. Anyhow, you're going fast as shit, and the atmosphere happens to be less thin than Earth's. And I like to describe the thickness of atmosphere by comparing, like, air to water.
Okay.
When you're in the water, it's hard to move because, like, the stuff you're in is thick.
Right.
You know? So air is thinner than water. You can move through it more easily. But a parachute is still going to slow you down enough that it's going to, like, you're going to be gliding and
That's
gently touch down.
fascinating.
On Mars, it's thinner. There's less air. So a parachute still slows you down, but not as much. For example, on the moon, there's no atmosphere, so a parachute does nothing.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
Which
it's tricky because you're going fast as shit. As you're entering the atmosphere, you need a heat shield. And that's going to absorb a bunch of the heat from the upper atmosphere and slow you down a bunch. And then still going faster than the speed of sound, you deploy a special fucking parachute that they've tested in wind tunnels and done all sorts of calculations to make sure it lines up with not going to burst into pieces while it's on Mars, because, again, it's doing this all on its own.
this is
And so the parachute slows it down enough that the rocket thrusters can take over. And it fucking uses rockets and slows it down enough to the point where it depends which one you're talking about. Opportunity and Spirit, the smaller solar-powered lander or rovers, fucking at this point, they had big like balloons inflate and then they bounced on the surface of Mars until they like slowed down enough. The first bounce
That's
for them was
Which
a
was
mile
the one
high.
that they lowered with a crane.
That was Curiosity. That one came
Curiosity?
down. So as the jets
is
started
wild.
thrusting, it lowered with like these wires the SUV-sized rover, and the jets were like above it. And then as it's lowering it, it felt once the wheels touched the ground, the slack in the wires went, and then it would let go, and then the thrusters just fucking launched off into like some other place on.
What? I'm out of here.
And it's just, it's still sitting there. Wherever those thrusters landed, they're sitting there.
You gotta find those
you know?
thrusters.
That's the fun thing to think about in space. Like, we just fucking leave shit around. You know? That's actually, I learned
Makes you wonder.
Trail mix up
I would
there
love for-
stuff we could find.
It's one of the reasons some of the other countries have not been on board with China being involved with international space stuff, because they've done stuff where they made like considered dangerous amounts of space debris.
Oh.
You know?
You don't want to do too much.
Yeah.
Keep
That's
the debris at a minimum.
I learned. The International Space Station does not include China. They don't allow China to
China's
participate.
on some
China
next
can't
level
sit with
stuff
us.
right now. With
I don't know what's up
zero
with that.
disrespect, but there's a lot
But
going on in China right now.
They've done their own stuff as a result. One of the cool
Making
things,
tons of space debris.
They grew cotton on the moon.
What?
On the far side of the moon, China grew cotton. They were the first people to land on the far side of the moon.
Why more people don't just
Kinda
know that is
How did they grow it?
bananas to me.
I don't know. It was inside of whatever
But
their
you all
like
know what
lander
Cardi
thing
B
was.
is. That just
I was gonna
pisses
say,
me
I
off.
feel like they had to have created some sort of
It was in an
tiny
environment. Yeah.
That
controlled
is
environment,
unbelievable.
Fucking dug up some moon dirt and stuck a seed in that.
Yeah.
It's still awesome. However
Moon
they did
rain.
it is amazing.
Moon rain watered it. And
Dude, moon cotton. We gotta get some. That's wild that
Sounds
more people
like
don't know that.
IPA or something, or like
Moon
strand of
Ooh, moon
indica.
cotton. It's definitely kind of indica. We're in the
Yeah.
couch right now.
But yeah,
That's
the
crazy,
Mars
man.
landings are very, very fast, complicated, and hard to even have any control over. Like, for example, up until InSight landed on Mars, it was less than 50% of the time that humans were successful trying to get something to like land softly on Mars. So that shit is complex as fuck. And
That's just unbelievable.
one of the only ways they have of like taking pictures and videos or images of something like of a planet in space is what they call what is it, the LRO, Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter.
Lunar reconnaissance.
I think that might be it. That's this thing that like just goes around the moon and like takes high quality pictures. That's the only way you can see like the Apollo landing site.
We should be more understanding
People
of the
have
poor
a big
scientists.
problem also with like, the Hubble telescope can't see the like lander on the moon because it's too far away.
Oh.
And they say bullshit.
Oh.
We should have the technology, and the only way you can see it is from those orbiters they have around the moon. And it's like, well, if you don't believe that because you don't understand it, figure out how lenses work.
Yeah, go
Figure out how
all the way
the
back.
optics work of the glass inside of a telescope and how the measurements of, how much detail you can get over a certain amount of space with the certain type of glass. Figure it out for your fucking self. If you don't believe that about the moon, don't just have a bunch of doubt about, I think the Hubble telescope should be able to see that, and then
Then you
make
go
this whole
figure it out.
conclusion.
But Cory,
like-
you don't understand.
Have you-
There's lizard people that have interdimensional powers.
That's
I'm not
right.
going to talk about the lizard people.
Have
You heard the Louis C.K.
So,
where he
like,
talks about the phone
I mean,
sucking?
clearly I'm right, and you just don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, you just know.
You haven't waken up yet.
Like,
Wake up, sheeple.
you do it. You get some hubcaps and you go make one. My phone sucks.
My phone sucks. Why don't you make a
Phone sucks.
That's the
Verizon?
Louis C.K. one.
On the International Space Station, they sent an oven to bake.
Easy
the
bake
first
oven in
time.
space.
They've never baked in space.
Easy space oven.
I
Should've
think
been
they
marketed
have
for that.
had the ability to warm things,
Oh.
but they'll actually be able to. I think they sent cookies to space.
I was gonna say, what's the?
because space food
what's the
sucks ass.
Yeah, it's
barrier?
like pouches and stuff,
From what
right?
I've heard, it's like, and also they put hot
Space
sauce
cuisine.
on everything. Because
Ooh.
fun fact, when you're in zero gravity, you feel a lot like you have a head cold because normally your body has to work extra hard to pump the blood to your head, and as a result, when that doesn't have that, it's
That
not fighting
restraint,
that. It
yeah.
you sends more blood than it really needs.
So it's like big brain
So you
time.
get-
big
yeah.
brain time.
You get congested.
That doesn't sound comfortable.
They don't
like,
taste stuff a lot,
I imagine.
so they put hot sauce.
I imagine being in space, like the feeling of being in space, sucks ass.
Oh, dude.
It must be ass
Such a fun thing
and
that I learned.
sauce.
I watched a tour of the International Space Station like probably 3 times now. There's a
Tour.
thing you can watch the fucking video. This goofball brings you around the whole thing.
I love goofballs,
It's
man.
like Chris Hatfield.
No, actually, he's a really cool guy. He's cool. This goofball is also cool, but he's a little goofier.
Well, we're goofballs.
But there's this thing when you're coming out of the Japanese laboratory.
Ooh.
There's this thing that they use. It's like a perfect like space where you can swing off of a thing and do a backflip in like 0G. And then like your feet hit the floor and you do a front flip.
That's pretty
And
sweet.
it's like they
Sounds-
is one of the small opportunities for fun because it's such a scientific environment. and,
Right.
like,
yeah,
yeah.
right.
you know. So
You got-
that
and
shit
that'll
was
drive
cool.
me
When
crazy.
I you can see it if you watch the most detailed tour of the International Space Station.
That's
That's the
crazy.
name of the video.
They also have rides at carnivals that's like zero gravity. It spins you into oblivion, into a fucking
Well, that-
oblivion, and I'm not about
That's
that.
a little different.
I can't do that. I've never succeeded on that.
Are you talking about like the roundup?
Yeah, the roundup.
Those-
I don't know.
those
There's also
spinny
like
rides are
space.
crazy. Though,
I'm trying
yeah,
to
they
think if
do an
that's-
alien ship one.
There are
that-
It's
Space.
centrifugal force.
Yeah,
Centrifugal.
Yeah.
Is that it?
Most people say centrifugal.
That's
But
a
it's
different
cent-
thing.
inward
Oh.
one.
Yeah.
That's what I said.
What generates
You guys
that
pay
force?
attention.
The inward centripetal force,
Centrifugal.
as opposed to centrifugal. Will you Google that real quick? Because I'll be honest,
I'm not sure.
with how much I like to think I'm decent with physics, like
I hate to be a tattletale. Davis is looking up black holes.
No,
and
I'm not.
I want to talk
Black
about
holes are
black
cool.
holes.
those are fun.
Yeah, if that's on the list, we should talk about black holes. Centripetal. That's what I'm talking about. That's the one where I launched
A
the,
force that acts on a body moving in a circular path and is directed towards the center of which the body is moving.
I tried to spin a
Right.
tray
So
into
how
the
can
dining
that
room once.
be if
Hurled it right into the dining
I
room.
always think that force is moving outward? What can make the force go inward?
Yeah, that's a very good question.
Oh shit. Outward.
That's
Let me look up an example.
that's some shit right there.
Look at it. This is just an umbrella of science. I love it.
You know, always learning.
Ooh. What were we
in the
talking about, though?
meantime-
Yeah, in the meantime.
Did you know that the European Space Agency has landed on a comet before?
That's awesome. That is so cool.
Uh,
How'd that work out?
they actually kind of fucked it up.
Of course they
It was
did.
a while ago. I forget when, but it was.
You get to
like-
land on a comet and
not
you
even that
fuck
recent.
it up.
What happened was they had this whole like harpoon system that was supposed to like stick into the comet when it landed to help it like stay on the ground, but it didn't fire, so it like bounced and fucking landed in like this other spot.
What?
And it was fucked up because it was a solar powered thing and it landed in a shady spot where it wasn't supposed to.
No.
And so
That
they had
sucks.
like 60 hours or something to do like weeks worth of science.
That sucks.
But they still did it. They landed on a comet. And America's Osiris
hear that?
Rex is orbiting an asteroid right now. It's mapping out the surface and deciding where it's going to land. Actually, not land. It's going to like bounce off of the surface and collect a sample
Oh, that's awesome.
and return it to Earth. And people,
When's that happening?
it's probably going to be 2021 when it comes back.
Mark your calendars. Just keep an eye out for
I
it.
watched it like live when it arrived to
I
the
remember you
asteroid
broadcasting that.
and shit.
Can you find
I
that
always
on
put
your?
it on my Snapchat and those things.
Was it on your Snapchat so nobody
Probably.
can find it? Well,
No,
I mean, online
that
you can
shit's
find
online.
it. But I know, but I remember
But
you
it's
broadcasting
mad
it.
cool. You can
was
you
awesome.
can watch those things as they happen.
So centripetal force is really more about tension. You know what I mean? When you have like a ball swinging in a circle, the rope's tension is the centripetal force. So it's not really like a it's not a fundamental force. It's just
Okay.
it's like a force that we can observe in certain scenarios, like a ball swinging around
like
on
your
a piece of
hand's
string,
grip on the rope is
or like
what you're
gravity's
saying?
pull on the moon as it orbits us. You know,
Oh.
those are examples of
gravity's pull on the
centripetal
moon as
force.
it orbits us.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
It's the force that keeps
Pulls
something
it
Tethered.
into the
moving
middle.
in a circular path.
That's
You know
Yeah,
what
I
mean?
got you.
Sort of acting against Newton's first law of gravity.
I see.
Or, you know, saying
The
that.
force
That is
making it
interesting.
move in that, as opposed to the reaction force.
Right. Because Newton's first law says that an object moving in a straight path should, remain in that straight path until acted upon by an external force.
And this is the external.
So the
force.
centripetal force is what's keeping it moving in that
That's
circular
fascinating.
path.
Fascinating.
That is so fascinating.
And centrifugal force is usually what people are talking about. Like, that's what keeps water in a cup when you spin it around.
Yeah, or climbing up the sides, you know what I mean? Or when you're on the round.
Or the roundup,
yeah.
right.
Or
yeah.
like if you're using a centrifuge in a lab, and the things are spinning and the,
But yeah, briefly, I want to finish up. We were just talking about an asteroid.
Yeah, I wasn't listening. I was Googling stuff.
He
So
was Googling. He
proceed.
needed to Google.
Um,
We needed that information.
Yeah, America has OSIRIS-REx. It's like this thing that's going to take a sample of asteroid material and bring it back to Earth in 2021. And that's
Dope.
crazy
Bananas.
because we've had pieces of asteroid come to Earth, but they get all fucked up in the atmosphere.
Yeah, they burn up.
And so it's kind of crazy to think about. Like, we're just like saying, you know what, we're going to like put it in a thing and carry it through the atmosphere so that it doesn't get fucked up. And then we're going to look at it.
Oh, okay.
Like, humans are so cheeky, you know?
Yeah,
what I
we're
mean?
very scientists
We are
are
so
very
We're just
cheeky.
going to send this thing out into the middle of fucking space, collect some fucking dirt off a rock mad far away, and just look at it.
I'd rather not answer that.
Alexa,
wouldn't
we
wanna
weren't
answer
fucking
it
talking to
either.
you,
We
you
weren't
creep.
asking you.
This is fascinating stuff.
It's like ha ha ha.
Ha ha ha.
All right, we're unplugging you.
Don't unplug her, man. It's not nice.
I've got at least a few more tricks.
I want to
up
hear
my
it. Let's hear
sleeve.
some more science.
Topics of science.
Although
discussion.
I mean, he was looking at black holes.
I mean, do you guys want to talk about black holes?
I
We should at least talk
I
about
feel
black
like
holes
we
a
gotta
little.
talk about black holes.
we gotta,
I think everybody's
not
waiting
talk
to
about
hear a
black
little
holes.
something about black holes.
yeah, come on,
All right.
come on.
Black holes are, those things that are infinitely
Black holes,
freaking-
son.
Yeah. What do you guys want to know about black holes?
I have so many questions about black holes.
What are your questions about black
Well,
holes?
Explain.
I
so let's say
actually-
I'm a child. Explain a black hole to me
Here's
because that's
one
the
like
best
I'm
way.
five.
I would like
Explain
to
it
say
like I'm at a
something
fifth grade
that
level.
I would like to clarify that I think is a misconception
Can I
about
move
black
this?
holes.
Oh,
Yeah.
Sure.
However you need. You want it
Sorry,
to go
folks. I need it up a little bit so I don't whack it. Yeah, there we go.
Up? Yeah.
Thanks.
Black holes, as far as I learned more recently, actually, are very small
Yes,
What?
because
they're infinitely small.
Oh, okay.
they're
Oh, because it's
so small because of how like dense and the gravity
Mm-hmm.
pushes it in. It's like a feedback loop.
Yes.
even supermassive black holes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think
smaller?
so. They're super
So-
massive, so it makes them even smaller,
Even smaller,
right? If anything.
That is fascinating.
And so
Um,
it's like a pin needle size thing in space.
So
or
when you
something.
think
Not
about
even,
the
it's
size of a black hole, you're really talking about the size of its event
smaller.
horizon.
Event horizon
Event
So-
is what
horizon.
exactly, and that's
Yes.
where like what you would see.
That's the barrier from which no light or matter will ever return.
That's
Right,
crazy.
So once you cross that event horizon,
It's traveling
Um,
so quickly to that infinitely small point that you cannot see it.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Right.
Mhm. It's actually called spaghettification if you get sucked into a black hole.
Yeah. People
Believe it
are
or
like,
not.
what would
Are you
happen?
serious?
Yeah,
I-
People
you
are
would,
like,
sometimes I
what
can't
would
tell if they're
happen?
messing
Well,
with
I'm
me.
pretty sure you would fucking die.
you would die.
Yeah, but is it called
You would-
spaghettification?
all of your atoms and shit would get ripped apart.
You would just not.
Pretty
all the
violently.
matter that
already
is
be
you
dead
would
anyway.
turn into not.
But
that
supermassive
bad.
black holes, you could actually enter the event horizon and be alive for
What?
What?
So explain that
certain amount of
to
time.
those of us at home who have
The
no
event
idea.
horizon meaning like
uh,
crossing the threshold,
yeah,
or
yeah, exactly. Like it's gonna take
the
some
threshold
time
of like where you can't
for the
return.
gravity to, you know what I mean, rip you to shreds. But you're still, the gravity's too strong for you to ever leave. You know what I mean?
So would you be able to see some more into the black hole?
I mean, some
Or
people
past the
think
event
that
horizon,
you
in
might
theory?
be able to see your future and all possible futures, and like the thing as you approached like this infinite,
What?
like I don't know, it's a little, I don't know enough to explain
That
the
sounds
theories behind
crazy.
that.
Yeah, but maybe there's got to be some truth to why he said that.
I
I'm very fidgety, folks.
don't know. I could totally see some shit like that.
How did you come to that conclusion?
Other people did.
How did you
We've only
come?
heard.
Okay. Can I find that information?
That's a good question.
That's fascinating.
I want to say PBS Spacetime has addressed it. They have a lot of different YouTube videos about black holes.
Right.
If anyone is looking to learn more about it. They can be pretty dense, but they're fun to watch. Even if you don't understand everything, it's just
That's crazy.
like science is for everyone.
That's right. Scientists are just
How about
children that
near
never stopped
light
asking
speed
questions.
travel?
Light speed travel.
Yes.
Discuss.
The only way to travel into deep space would be to go like near light speed, because a human life wouldn't last long enough to arrive at a place if you weren't going fast enough. So one of the fascinating things, the whole everybody having their separate clock thing, that
Oh yeah, time dilation.
Wait,
that
one more
is
time.
hard to fucking grasp.
Well, let's talk about it. What is that you just said?
So here's one thing that
What
makes
is it?
me understand it, not understand it, but like having a concept of like what its effects are better. So as you travel closer to the speed of light to, for example, say go to another solar system or something, the way time affects you as you're traveling quickly is different than the way time affects a person not traveling at that speed.
Yeah.
And so, if you went fast enough to get somewhere, like another solar system, in a human lifetime, billions of years would have passed on Earth. And you could
Jeez.
no longer talk to the people on Earth.
That's crazy.
They might have gone extinct.
So there is some truth to the
So-
science behind the movie Interstellar, because that,
Actually,
that
there's
was
lots-
the most
There is actually some...
Lots of
fascinating
science
movie,
that
and it
is
seemed
behind it, actually.
It all
I don't
seemed
really...
logical,
I
didn't
never
it?
Yep.
liked the end. I think the end is just way too much of a...
fantasy a little bit.
Well, they had
It doesn't
to
make any sense anymore
You
at the
needed a
end.
Hollywood ending, you know.
Yeah, I
you
guess
had
you're
to.
right.
To,
You
know.
needed to do that. You're right. So, fair enough.
But
That
The
is
whole
the only
leading
thing
up to that
But yeah,
was-
there is a lot of cool science
Because,
stuff.
like, in reality, he would have never been able to reunite with anyone. From,
of course not. That
you
just
know.
doesn't.
Do they have the spinning
And that's just
space
not good
station in
for-
that one?
Yes, they do.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
Fun fact about those: one of the problems with that design is there's a gradient of how the centrifugal force affects you.
Really?
The farther out from the center you are, the more the pressure, the greater the pressure is.
Right.
Okay.
So you would actually be, in a lot of cases, for example, if it was too small, you'd send everybody's blood to their feet and they would pass out.
Oh shit.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So there's a lot of like technical things about that make it like
Right.
actually a really unrealistic.
Because the
design.
gravity is greater at your feet than it is at your head. so,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
This
in
is a
theory,
lot.
you could
I
make
feel
a
like maybe
giant
you would
one
need- you
that
need a giant
becomes,
one.
You know,
That
you
would
get
limit
a
the...
yeah.
Yeah.
This is fascinating, and that movie was fantastic because it all seemed really logical when you. It just seemed really well broken down of how it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Of
there
how
was.
it
They
works.
actually consulted a lot of scientists that
awesome.
worked in the field.
You know, one of my biggest problems
makes me
with
so
that movie
happy,
is
too.
though
The wave
way
scene.
they're just like, hey, you haven't been an astronaut or trained for like a fucking long ass
Yeah.
time, but like
Get on up there.
What's up with that?
want to just
Yeah.
like out of
Hey,
nowhere
beet farmer,
with no
whatever the
regard
fuck.
for like your fucking mental state.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Like, bro, they're not just sending people up there.
well, you have to suspend reality for the Hollywood.
Yeah.
No Joe Schmo, Jackie
Dude,
Collins is
oh,
going on this space.
Man, could you imagine that? Like,
But yeah,
That's just
here, hold on. I want
ludicrous.
to
I
before
don't-
we move away from time dilation. There's actually here's the my favorite example of it.
yeah, actually, well, I
Is
want to
that
talk about
if you
the
talk
clocks,
about
too. You should.
GPSs on like satellites, they have to account for time dilation because they're moving faster than the clocks on Earth because they're
Oh,
orbiting.
you're right. Yeah,
you know
they
what I mean?
adjust the clocks.
So
on
every now and
GPS
then they have to,
satellites.
yeah. So that's just hardcore proof right there of Einstein's theory of relativity.
That's dope.
Yeah.
Yeah, that shit's crazy. But so everybody basically has their own clock
That's
Yep.
wild.
in that sense,
That's wild.
which is fucking.
I like
weird.
good. I'm a loner. I like having my own shit. I have my own clock. You guys have your own clocks. I'll worry about my clock. All right.
Yeah.
At your own age, that
That's fantastic.
depends on how you travel through space.
Fuck yes, I travel nice and slow. Oh, that was good. I like that discussion on black holes, and I'm happy to know that
One of the other things about deep space
This is-
travel
this is
is
all
one of the most
understandable.
likely fuel power sources would be like laser light, right?
laser light.
I only heard this once, but apparently like imagine if you pointed a laser beam at a solar panel.
At a solar panel.
That would be the most efficient way to actually power something like traveling really far away.
Really?
I think
that makes sense.
I've heard that. It's kind of crazy. Actually, something fascinating. An LED light, kind of like a speaker, if you wire it in reverse, it does the opposite thing. A speaker wired in reverse is a microphone. And if you wired a microphone in reverse, it would be a teeny tiny speaker.
So an LED light wired in reverse would be a
Will absorb light energy, and you can actually re-emit it through another LED light. So if you connect an LED to another LED and put a laser beam into one of them, the other one can light up, depending on if you wire it.
Interesting, right.
I've seen this guy Styropyro.
Styropyro, you heard it here
YouTube.
first.
He does an awesome demonstration of so much fucking awesome real-ass science.
That's awesome.
Styropyro, that guy fucking rocks.
So if you're still curious after this podcast, go check him out.
Similarly, a solar panel, a solar cell, if you put energy into it, it will emit UV light that you can pick up. You can't see it with your eyes, but it actually emits a tiny, tiny amount of light. What? Which, I mean, I got nothing else about that. I just think that's fucking crazy.
It's friggin' cool.
How many other things just work inversely if, like, what the fuck?
The speaker microphone is
I saw in South Park, if you put food in your ass, you'll poop out of your mouth.
Yeah.
That must be true, too.
Buffalo soldier.
Buffalo soldier.
In the heart of America.
Oh, goodness.
You guys know about virtual particles?
Please tell us about surgical particles.
Virtual particles.
Surgical particles.
So apparently the vacuum of space isn't totally empty. There's like this sea of like frothing particles that just like sort of pop in and out of existence.
Sounds delicious.
Basically, what the universe can do is it can like borrow a bit amount of energy from nothing, as long as it just like gives it back right away. So you have these little pairs of matter and antimatter particles that emerge, split off, and then recombine. You know what I mean? Ooh. And in the vacuum of space, they're just fucking breeding out there. You know what I mean?
It's just chaos.
And so, like, one of the ways, the only way for a black hole to actually reduce its size is through what's called Hawking radiation.
Hawking?
Yes. So, like, on the edge of the event horizon, you've got this immense gravitational pull, right? Okay. And it's, like, pulling on these virtual particles that are, like, popping in and out. But sometimes like an antimatter like particle will split off from its matter counterpart and then fall into the black hole, but the matter particle will escape. You know what I mean? And so and I don't know if you know anything about matter and antimatter, but when they touch each other, they completely annihilate and give off energy.
I don't know, man. I don't have a hold on most of the things being thrown at me here.
Right. So basically, if you have a matter, like say you had a matter microphone,
matter microphone?
and an antimatter microphone of the same shape and size, if you put them together, they would annihilate and cease to exist, basically.
That's
So if you've got a black hole that's made out of matter and you throw in these little tiny antimatter particles, slowly but surely you're going to reduce its size and it's going to shrink over time.
That's fascinating.
And usually in space, in the vacuum of space,
antimatter is a thing that like we just don't fucking understand.
Well, we do understand it.
I certainly don't understand it.
We can create it in the super colliders.
So here we are at super colliders. Me and the viewers at home, I'm telling you right now, are not on board with super colliders. What are super colliders?
Super
if
colliders.
We could just put a pin in it, I'll ask for
They're like these 10-kilometer tubes that we basically just accelerate particles super fucking fast, right? They just and then we smash them together. And when that happens, enormous amounts of like subatomic particles and different like energy and like just shit just flies everywhere. Matter, antimatter, all these different things. And we basically just observe what happens and use it to like explain stuff.
That's wild. I didn't know any of that. Should I have known that?
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't think most people have any idea what
how much most people know.
Okay, is this something you guys have researched
Super
on your
collider,
own,
I hardly know her.
Yeah,
A
no,
plus.
this is definitely not like they don't really talk
Alright.
about this in school.
That's
you
what.
know?
Okay.
Yeah,
that's-
yeah,
that was my
probably
main
not.
question. Like, I'm just ignorant to all of this.
So,
But yeah, it's
but
basically
I
just a
thought
fucking
But it's
particle.
antimatter
fascinating.
was something we really did not understand.
You're thinking of dark matter.
Dark.
So these are different
That
things.
sounds
I didn't even know
Different
that.
So cool. Talk
wow,
about dark
how about that?
matter.
Antimatter we have observed.
Yeah,
and we've
I thought
directly
dark
seen
matter
it,
is
and, like,
something that we also like know it exists,
I want to know
Yes.
about dark matter.
and it's most of the universe or something like
So
that.
dark matter, yeah, most of the universe is dark matter. We can't see it, but we know it's there because, well, here's how we can sort of see it. So when we see light coming from a distant galaxy, sometimes the light will be bent around this
Yeah, the star will.
this shape, where like there was nothing there, but we can see that there's
Wait.
this mass, this dark mass that's bending the light from a galaxy.
oh, okay.
And it's because the gravity that is
Strong enough
You
to
know,
bend the light.
the dark matter within these galaxies, it's the light is warping around it, and it creates this gravitational
Right,
lens.
stars do that too.
Yeah. Another
Okay.
reason we know about dark matter is because if we calculate the gravity that should exist within galaxies, there's not enough normal matter to hold them together. By Newton's laws of gravity, like everything should fly apart because there's not enough matter to keep things close together. So scientists are like, all right, we know there's got to be something there because something's
crazy.
got to explain
Oh.
the mass
Right,
of
right,
these
So that's what
solar
dark.
systems.
That's what dark matter is. We know it's
Or
there, but we
galaxies.
don't know what it is.
Exactly.
That's-
Antimatter, we know it's there and we've seen it.
What? So what is? What is antimatter?
Antimatter is basically the same as regular matter, just the opposite version of it. So
And
like
dark matter is
And-
just basically a name
Let's-
for
let's
something
take,
we don't understand.
let's take an atom of helium, right?
Okay.
So say you've got two neutrons,
Okay.
two
neutrons.
protons and two electrons. You will in an anti-atom of helium, you'll have two positrons, which are the opposite of electrons.
Okay.
Two I actually forget what they're called.
Oh no.
The opposite of a proton, a negatron. But anyways, basically, you've got like instead of a proton, it's got like a minus charge instead of a
Okay.
plus charge.
All right, that makes sense.
And its electrons are positrons, so they have a positive charge surrounding them instead of,
Okay.
So it's basically just the mirror image of like that particle,
Roger.
So
Yeah.
like it's like if you have like a wave, if you have two waves
It'll be the inverse.
and you
Yeah.
have the inverse of a wave colliding with its
Yeah, it'll
inverse,
just
it'll just cancel out. You know what I mean? That's the basic concept with matter and antimatter.
Okay.
So what? Do they think there's some anti-universe?
I mean, it's possible.
That's crazy.
It could be
That,
moving backwards in time.
Is that why you were
Ah.
you had talked about that before, and that was super fascinating. Everything moving literally backwards in time.
Yeah, that's a fun concept.
I mean,
It is a
time
fun
could just be a direction like any other.
Right,
you know?
imagine
Yeah,
if time
which is
moved
just
backwards
amazing.
and like life would be like being resurrected out of however you were cremated or buried or whatever.
That's just.
Well, I
And
think
then
if
death would be
insane.
like turning
I think if
back
time was
into-
would be moving backwards, I feel like it would be more of a directional thing, like that happened in the past. You know what I mean? But it's for them, it's like going forward.
That's
Yeah.
That's what I would
wild,
imagine.
though.
It's
a
not like
crazy
they
concept.
started their life with their death and then worked their way through their birth.
No, I think
I don't
it
think
would
that
be
would.
like that. That would just be forward motion for them.
Yeah, that's.
See, I think it would be the opposite. You know what I mean? They would be moving backwards in time, like like events in their timeline would be, as they progress. I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain, but
I feel like that's what he's saying. It would
Yeah,
be
no, but
forward
I'm
motion
saying
for
they're
them.
they're like the start of their life isn't their death. You know what I mean? And then they
Oh.
end with their birth.
Oh well, yeah.
Because I don't know. I don't think that's how like the progression of things works.
This is just so.
I don't know.
This is
it's
a
just
roller coaster.
Stuff just moves around and changes forms.
Yeah.
I could totally see a universe that's exactly the same as this one, moving in backwards in time.
But
I can't too.
then
it's
you
a
don't
fun-
have like the law of entropy is like flipped on its head. You know what I
Exactly.
mean? And,
Yeah.
Like I don't. I don't know.
Everything would be
Everything about my brain tells me that that's not right and that can't happen.
It,
you know.
Well,
But
it would
it's
just be
just
the
a
exact
theory.
opposite. I don't know if it can or can't happen.
Oh, it's heating up here. It's heating up. This is a battle of the Horgan Bros. I'm just in the middle. Played Hadouken. That got wild. Matter and antimatter, am I right, guys?
Right.
I'm just a heliosphere over here.
Jackie, why don't we hear about some of the stuff you're doing? And,
Oh,
like,
I
with,
don't
like,
think I have a dog
that's
in this
right.
way.
I mean, you like treat like water. And
You
stuff,
got some
right?
fucking real
Oh, yeah.
practical science shit you can talk about, I
Well,
bet.
yeah. Well, you turn
I-
on your faucet and expect it to just have clean water, correct?
I do.
But not many people think
I
about
at
where
least
it comes
hope.
from. Yeah, you hope. But if one day if it didn't turn on, you'd be like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I would. Yeah.
I'd
Or
be
if
a
you
little
flush your
like,
toilet,
okay.
you're like, God damn it, why? Or there was a story in the
I got a fun fact about
Okay, go ahead.
toilets. The water in the toilet seals the world of sewage from your house. It's like a water seal. They
That I
call it.
can't vouch for.
It's like
I know where your poop
water
goes though.
stops the gas from getting into your house. The methane from all the dookie.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
I
that's.
thought that was really fascinating when I learned
And
that.
let me tell you, living with 5 guys is a lot of dookie. I'm sorry, 4 guys.
Yeah.
I'm the 5th guy.
I love Five Guys.
No, Moon counts.
Yeah, there you
5
go.
guys. Oh, we should get burgers after this.
Oh boy.
So yeah, you're dookie.
Yeah.
Just public service announcement. While I got you here and listening, don't flush Q-tips or floss or gum or tobacco or babies. Don't flush anything. Anything
usually
but your poop.
Flush the normal stuff.
Yeah,
You know,
just bodily stuff.
teeth,
Not to get gross, but you asked me, Don't flush teeth. That's not
toenails.
wise.
Hair.
Nah, please.
I know someone that flushes their toenails.
Hair
so,
is
like,
fine,
that's
but it's not ideal. I just
not
prefer
right.
just be dookie and pee.
Yeah.
I heard that it'll take roughly 30 hours. It can be just for water to enter and exit the treatment facility. So being poop vomit water to drink it again
Oh,
in
well.
30 hours.
Fiji.
We do a lot
water.
to treat that, so Fiji. We don't. I can't vouch for Fiji water. It's not from Fiji though, so it's not high. It's got high pH too. So lay off the Fiji water and just drink your tap water.
Lay off
Fuck.
the Fiji.
Yeah,
Hmm.
lay off all bottled water. If you don't
What
mind.
about the pipes?
There are lead pipes, and that is out of our control. But we have.
Whoa.
We didn't plant your pipes, dude. Talk to the person
I'm
who created your
fascinated by
town.
pipes. Sometimes I think about, like, I was saying this the other day. I'll put water in a glass and think, like, hey, this was, like, somewhere in the dark, cold earth underground somewhere
Yeah,
with bugs crawling around it. It was just separated by a tube.
and now it's
And now
the
I'm
best
drinking
tasting
it.
tap water and all of.
Or now it's in my
creative
dog's bowl.
Oh yeah, Moon drinks tap
Crazy.
water. It's in your.
And before that, it was poop was in it from some other person's
It
toilet.
was once
So
dinosaur
that's just
pee.
another example of how amazing my
And
company
then
is. We make sure
bear
we
pee.
there's no poop in your water.
No
You
poop
can
in
drink
that
with
water.
pride and flush with confidence.
Should be their slogan.
Is that
It
a-
is our slogan.
Oh,
Really?
okay.
Yeah. Sip with pride and flush with confidence.
Flush with confidence does not sound like something.
Maybe
I
it's
would
drink
like
with
to be told.
confidence and flush with pride, but there's
I don't.
pride.
I
and
don't
there's
want to talk
confidence.
about the feeling I have when I'm flushing.
All right, well,
That would be like.
you don't have to talk about
I
that.
I
would
feel
put
very
that-
proud every time.
I
Don't
wouldn't
you?
put that in
Yeah.
a
Proud
mo-
feeling.
in a.
There was a story in the
slogan.
news where this woman's toilet just started, like, I don't mean like overflowing. It was exploding like a fucking geyser. And it is on camera. It wasn't our toilet. It was not my company's
your
sewer
pipes?
system. It was in our water system, yeah. But what happens if you do that? She had to sell her house. Her house was like condemned because it's just raw sewage all
Yeah.
over the bathroom. What?
Well, that's
how do
like
you?
I was
You
gonna
just
say.
expect that to not happen.
The
That's
I
amazing.
definitely expect that to not
the
happen.
water seal.
Yes, but you don't really think about it. You just.
The water seal makes it like not a hazard, because you could blow up your house. Like that's one of the things
It's
I
still
learned about like a
disgusting.
toilet that has no water in it in a house that like maybe is like abandoned or something. Like methane could leak into the place,
That makes
and it
sense.
would like if you sparked it, it would blow up.
That's,
Oh,
I don't
That-
know.
Okay.
I don't know for a fact it would be like that dramatic, but I
that
know that's
sounds-
like a real like hazard that like I was saying, that's a water seal thing.
Well, I'm glad that
fucking
someone's
mentioned
figured
that
out.
10 times now. In case anybody wasn't sure.
This is good to know. That to keep water in your toilet, man.
Yeah. Fascinating, right?
Maybe we should talk about something a little more glamorous than poop dookie water.
Hmm.
But
How-
I just
how
want you to
about
know
a,
that our
Good old dual slit experiment.
a what?
The dual slit experiment.
That
Wow,
sounds
that's a-
terrifying.
That's such a different topic. But yeah, that
It's
is
a
a
can, it's a
fascinating
can of
topic.
worms.
Let's do it.
So, they basically did this experiment, right,
Okay.
where they took electrons, they shot it at a wall
Okay.
with a slit in it, and they measured it as it landed on the wall behind.
You should make
You
the
know what I mean?
comparison between marbles and waves first.
So,
Okay, marbles and waves.
Imagine you were doing that with marbles.
yeah,
Shooting
so
marbles through a slit. on the
imagine
wall.
you shoot like marbles through a slit, right? You know what I mean? And you're reading how it hits the wall behind.
You're
you know?
shooting marbles through a slit.
Yeah, yeah. So there's like a wall here, and then there's a wall behind it.
Okay.
The first wall has a slit.
A
in it.
rectangle cut out.
A
of it.
rectangle
Okay.
cutout, and you're shooting these marbles through it, and
Okay.
you're recording where it hits the back wall, basically. You know, so as you shoot the marbles through one by one, you know, what I mean, it starts to line up on the back wall
You see the same
as it's
shape.
passing through. You know, you see a reflection of the the slit that it was passing through.
With two slits, you'd see two of the same mark.
Right. So we're gonna add two slits now, and we're gonna shoot marbles through it. You got two lines. You know. So now imagine that you're like you got a wave that's passing through it. You know.
With one slit, it would make that same kind of.
It would sort of like
You would see like
it would create like a wave propagating out from the slit, with the highest intensity being in the middle,
center.
in the very center, and then it would kind of weaken as it goes across, So
Yep.
say you had two
You
slits,
follow?
Yep.
you would have. I mean,
Imagine,
it's kind of hard talking about the waves because it's like you really need like the visual there to
imagine
imagine.
it's water.
I can't
These,
get
like-
the marble slit image in my head. I don't know what the fuck you guys are talking about with marble slits.
So we got a gun, right? It's just fucking shooting marbles like.
Okay, that
Through-
makes sense.
through
Yeah,
a
and then there's like
slit
a
in the
wall, right? And it's got
A
a
slit in the wall. What do you mean a slit in
Like
the
a
wall? Just a
fucking
crack in the
it's a
wall?
fucking-
cut a
yeah, a
square.
fucking crack in
You
the
cut a
wall.
I
square.
cut a rectangle out of it.
You know,
You cut a rectangle in a wall. Boom. Got it.
rectangle. Yeah, and then there's
I'm
a
looking at-
wall,
And
Okay.
then there's a
behind
wall
that wall.
behind it that
There's a wall behind it.
just got
Yeah.
nothing cut
Yeah.
out of it.
and then we're
Then as you shoot the marbles, it's gonna make
Why marbles?
because it could be anything made of solid.
Yeah.
It could be
Just
little
physical matter.
darts. You know what I
Okay,
mean?
you're shooting the
gun
marbles.
bullets or like
Okay.
BBs or
Through the wall. through the
banana
slit in
peels.
the
It could be
wall.
anything.
Yeah, yeah.
You know.
Right.
So it's gonna hit that back wall,
Yep.
right, and create the shape of the slit that it was
Yeah.
fired through, right?
Okay.
So now we're gonna
Waves
add
are
two
gonna behave
slits.
similarly.
You're gonna
And
add
then-
another one.
Yeah, and then you got two fucking things on the back
It's
wall,
gonna make
right?
two of those shapes.
Yeah.
So now let's do it with
Super
fucking
simple,
electrons,
Same
right?
with light. If you shine a light through it, you'll see two light shapes on the back. Like, what do you? I don't understand.
Okay, so here's the thing.
Okay.
They did this with electrons,
Oh
right?
shit. Okay.
And they shot them through, and basically, instead of getting two lines, they started with one line, right?
Yeah,
one
yeah, yeah.
slit, and you got one line,
Even
But
with
then
the,
they added the second one.
Okay.
Instead of getting two lines, they got all these fucking bands.
Like
you know
a
what I
wave
mean?
would have behaved.
What?
Right.
Because think about how
So
waves
basically-
would
Yeah, but
interact
that's
with each
still
other and make
fascinating.
Yeah.
Instead of the shape, it was.
the fucked up thing is
Do you have? Can you
So
pull
here's-
this up? Like, is there a way that did they visualize this, or is it just explained?
yeah no there's an animation that you can
I
look
have
up
to
on
watch
YouTube.
the animation. I
But
feel
the
like
fucked
that
up
should've been
thing
the first
is
thing.
once they decided to measure it, like see what's going on, why it behaved that way, it went back to behaving like non-wave,
Really.
like particles.
See, like that's the first
Okay,
one.
this
you
is
know what I mean?
way more helpful. That's crazy. Okay, that was.
Oh fuck! I feel like I'm gonna need to put a picture.
Sorry.
Yeah.
You know
Well,
what?
we'll put up a couple things.
That is
Maybe.
pretty
Well,
crazy.
that's me. I'm gonna have to edit that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We're the
Cory.
ones that gotta pick that up, Michael.
No, we're the ones.
But
We'll get somebody to
basically,
pick that up.
the mind fuck of it all is that when they decided to measure, like which slot the particle is actually going through, it stopped acting like waves and went back to acting like particles.
How did it
And
do
you
that?
got two slits.
The observing
instead of the
act of observing for some reason.
it collapses the wave function. Is what
That's
it's
wild,
called. Yeah.
though. That's
And
wild.
That gets me thinking about like Schrodinger's cat.
Yep.
When you ever heard of Schrodinger's cat?
I feel like it's been a while.
It's been a while.
This is the idea. It's a thought experiment.
We're both changing.
Imagining if you had a cat in a
Cat.
box,
Cat in a box.
and the cat has poison that is like 50% likely that it's gonna ingest the poison and die.
Oh, do you check? Is the cat dead? Is the cat alive?
And the idea is that like without having looked in that time, the cat is both alive and dead.
Yeah. That's like the stuff that.
It's not until you
drive
open
mad.
the box and collapse the wave functions that you realize that the cat
Right.
is either alive or dead.
That's just cuckoo, though. That's
It
hard.
makes
to,
you wonder like what is the act of observing
Yeah.
and how does it affect
Ah,
the universe
that's like
and how it behaves.
that stuff. It just makes you think. I gotta say. Schrodinger's cat was a good example to compare to. That's That's
the,
crazy.
the double slit experiment.
That's wild. You should
wanna
look up.
talk
Corey
about
will show the double slit
Psychopaths
experiment.
real quick
I would love to talk about
Psychopaths, sure.
and like
psychopaths.
the brain.
Yeah.
That stuff
Absolutely.
is fun.
No question.
Because I recently checked out this book, The Wisdom of Psychopaths, and it talks a lot about how, the word psychopath, you instantly kind of assume like Jeffrey Dahmer, cannibal,
Right.
mad people. But if you consider the fact that there's like many psychopathic traits, you could, you realize like a surgeon is a psychopath because they're able to do this thing that's so like gnarly without flinching.
Yeah.
Or a bomb diffuser has to be calm in such an incredibly stressful situation. A hero keeps his cool in chaos, So all these things are psychopathic traits. And the analogy that the book uses that I like a lot is it's like mixing dials on a mixing desk.
That was a good
If
one.
you turn them all up, it's no good. You're not going to get something useful out of that. But if you use the right ones at the right time, you're able to, make your mix, get something that sounds good. I even found out there's like a gene that if you possess a certain gene and you were abused as a child and you're a male or something, you're like almost guaranteed that you're going to be a violent criminal.
That's crazy.
And there's some that's the things that I like to think about with the human brain. That's like
I'm not a dude, so that's great.
the unconscious motivators between people's actions. Like the book Incognito is fucking awesome.
Incognito? Who
Yeah,
is
like-
the author?
David Eagleman,
David Eagleman.
I think that's his name.
Incognito.
Yeah, super good.
Okay.
It talks about like an experiment where they showed men these pictures of women and asked them
Shit.
to rate how attractive they found them. And half of the
Dangerous game.
photos had women with dilated pupils. The men didn't know that, but every time they saw a woman with dilated pupils, it was way more frequently rated higher. You know what I mean?
Why is... So what
because
is that?
nature tells you that's a sign of like sexual readiness.
Like eyes dilated?
Dilated
That is
pupils. Yep.
hysterical.
And-
How's mine looking right now?
Uh,
Just kidding.
there was one that an experiment in the Wisdom of Psychopaths where they played sad, somber music on a rainy day in a store and asked people to tell them details about the things that were on the shelf in the checkout line. And then they did the same thing on a bright, sunny day with good music playing. And they found that people who were in a worse
Wait.
mood-
Let me guess. People in a better mood didn't notice as much.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, that seems... Oh, wait. People in a better mood
Didn't
didn't
notice
as much.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's...
So
You only pay attention to shit when you're bummed out.
right.
Oh, shit,
Negativity
really?
bias,
Yep.
things
Wait,
like that.
that's why I can't remember anything ever. Because I'm always so fucking obnoxiously happy. So it's clinical. There you go. Scientifically proven.
So,
That's why I can't remember shit. That's fascinating.
I
You'd
think
think it'd
that
be
shit
the
is
other way
really
around.
interesting.
Wow.
The negativity bias is really interesting, you know.
Oh, I've heard of that before too.
Yeah, it's the
Negativity
idea
bias.
that, you have to focus
Yeah.
on what's wrong to improve.
That's true.
And
yeah.
that's like by nature,
Yeah. Constructive criticism.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All that.
Yeah. Well,
That is
well said.
fascinating when you just line it all up, sort of, and dissect it all like that. That's
I love
You don't
this.
really
I could
think of this
pretend I
shit.
know shit, and then Cory will just explain it. It'll be like, oh yeah, the
yes. That's how I'm. That's my presence here as well.
Well,
Yeah,
I would
like
like
you
to
said.
hope. I would hope that anything that I don't really know, I've acknowledged. But
You also are really good at doing
Yeah.
the research, though.
yeah,
Not.
those books are very cool though. Incognito.
Incognito.
You learn so much about like how the brain makes these choices that you're so not aware of, and it works on ideas while you're not thinking about them.
That's. I feel
yeah.
like
You
that's
ever have
important
an
tool.
idea just come to you?
Right.
That didn't
Like,
just come
all
out of
the
nowhere.
time.
yeah.
That's like apps working in the background of your phone to like fucking do shit, you know? You come back to your Instagram, it's like loaded all up with new stuff, you know? That's your brain coming up with ideas, basically.
That is just outlandish, but so fascinating.
I think
Yep.
you could totally put it like that.
I think there's like
That's
varying
an important
levels.
Tool. I feel like that's a
I
great
think
tool
some
to
people
have.
are more aware of, more of their subconscious than other people. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
totally.
No
Like the
question.
more you look inward, the more and more like the less is in your subconscious and more is just in your regular conscious. You know what I mean?
What else is
Like there's
super
some people that
fascinating?
don't do that at all and like have no
People
idea.
Forget, or people maybe don't know how much of like what you do isn't just like for example, vision has so many parts of the brain that have to do with vision that like some people will have a stroke, right, and their visual cortex is gone.
Oh man.
Yep.
But then like this crazy, there was a case that
Oh, I know
again
what you're
from
about to talk about.
Incognito.
Yep.
This lady is able to guess how many
Mhm.
fingers someone's holding up. She's
How? Like what is she?
Because
so-
her eyes are still seeing it.
her
and
eyes
it's
still work.
It's
her
still
visual
connected
cortex
to,
in her brain doesn't work. But
So
the
there's-
other parts of your brains that have to do with vision are still going to be there.
Because vision isn't like while it's like primarily located in your visual cortex. Like there's all sorts of different parts of your brain that
That's-
use vision for different things. You know what I mean? The part of your brain that's like controls your circadian rhythm. You know what I mean? Like that uses your eyes to see. You know what I mean? To say like, all right, light is coming in. It must be daytime. You know what I
Actually,
mean? I should
yeah,
wake
there's
up.
a cool
you
thing
know?
about the
That's-
chemicals in your brain. The DMT
That's crazy.
that people talk about, the drug DMT that is produced by the brain when you
Dimethyltryptamine.
dream.
yeah.
Actually, some like monks do this shit where like they keep themselves in a dark room for 10 days straight, and it's because your brain makes DMT in the dark, and like you were saying, your eyes being a part of that system, when the light of the sun comes up and enters your eyes, it turns it into like serotonin or something else. But if you don't ever let the light enter your eyes, the DMT piles up and you trip.
What? Let's
So these
just go
monks
on a-
will be in a fucking dark room for
Let's
10
do
days
it.
straight and start tripping. Oh, that's crazy.
No, it's not.
Oh
Let's
yeah,
just
I
do
need to
it.
take some time off.
Yeah, right?
Oh,
Do a
what
little
for?
staycation. It's a experiment.
But
That's wild, man.
yeah,
the
but
whole,
yeah.
the fact that that's just
Also blind
ludicrous. A lot of people don't
who
know
have,
about DMT anyway.
parts of their brain damage that causes blindness can still sometimes sense motion too.
Oh my god.
It's very cool.
That
very
is
fascinating.
The human brain.
Maybe not very cool.
The
They
brain
may not
is
think it's very cool.
Very
but-
cool, Kanye.
That's
Yeah.
yo. That is a lot. My brain is. I feel like my head's giving off heat right now from all the learning I'm doing.
Yeah, Incognito is a very cool book. I like that book a lot.
That's a very good book, and the songs that you listed earlier are also really good songs. Just to throw that out as a reminder.
That's all right. They can't listen to him yet.
Can't wait.
You got any cool things to maybe wrap up our last topics here? I got some.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Perhaps
I'm the spectator here.
we
here-
talked
I'm
a
here
lot
to learn.
about space.
We did. Space is awesome. Moon's starting to cry.
Moon wants to go outside, I think.
Oh, no. Oh. That was fantastic about we settled the debate on the gold, white.
Oh, I hope so.
Yeah. So
Well,
now
I
we
think
can all live
one
in
thing I want
peace.
everyone to get ready for is
What's
like
the laurel and
Overtones.
You can talk about that too. Overtones.
Laurel Yanny.
It's
Take a
laurel.
load of laurel.
Yanny.
Take a load for free.
Yes.
Yanny,
Um,
come back.
My best way to explain that is like, you know how you can play a piano and a violin? They can play the same note, but they obviously are not the same sound.
Yep.
That's because every sound is overtones. There's a lot of sounds that make up one sound.
A lot of sounds.
And similarly to how your brain can assume some light is a certain kind of light, it can assume certain sounds are a certain kind of sound.
Just want the dog.
There you go.
Hi.
He's making a cameo.
Hi. I can pet the dog. Oh, all
That's my best theory. That the way your brain hears sounds, similarly it makes assumptions about like what the sound that is being emitted and what the like sounds that are like the overtones are.
Yeah. What I find interesting is with the Laurel Yanny things, I can hear them both ways, but with the
Yeah.
light thing, I can't do both. You know,
It's
I can't see
it's
the
a lot
dresses.
like
Yanny.
it's a bit like the spinning ballerina thing. You ever
Yes,
see
the spinning ballerina.
You
I'm
can
a
see it spin
I'm
both
a spinning
ways.
ballerina.
Have you ever seen that, Jackie? The
No, show it to
ballerina
me.
that spins.
An illusion
and
that you can see it spin either way because
I'll show you an illusion. 'Cause I'm a ballerina.
there's just like not enough information for it to know what.
So I don't know what the spinning ballerina is though.
Look up spinning ballerina illusion.
Okay.
Spins both ways.
Okay,
Tell
so you
the
guys,
viewers too.
I'll do that. I'll do that right now, and then they'll continue to talk about
Well,
Laurel.
Well, that's about all I can say to that. Is that yeah, you know, like your brain is assuming when the light is yellow or blue, it's gonna assume which sounds, which overtones, or you know which sound is being emitted. Like there's one sound that's the loudest, and that's usually the one that's the sound that's being emitted, and all the overtones are like they're like resonating with it.
I don't see her
But you
spinning
know,
the
this
other
is
way.
stuff that I don't know the Laurel Yanny
Yeah, I haven't looked
to the
into
same
it.
degree that I could explain the blue and black dress. This is just like what I would think, you know.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. Dyson spheres are cool.
Dyson spheres. Yes.
All
Not a
right.
vacuum.
You hear that
Yes.
This
excitement?
has nothing to do with vacuums.
I
believe
love
it or not.
Dyson
No
spheres.
vacuums.
I say we deconstruct the shit out of Mercury. We don't need Mercury.
All right.
We don't need mercury.
No, we don't.
My
What
mom
we
still
do
has
need is a
thermometers
Dyson
with
sphere,
mercury in
though.
them. She tells me not
All
to
right.
play with
So let's end on explaining what Dyson spheres are real
Alright.
quick. We'll end in space.
them. All right. Sorry. Sorry,
Oh,
viewers.
look at him.
I know.
So,
Okay.
the idea is that you can harness the energy from a sun, a star, and just like a giant solar like powered radiator or generator, basically.
Okay.
You basically
Circle a sun with something.
Yeah, so Dyson spheres are actually less likely than like what some people are like would call it, like a Dyson swarm is like more functional. You know,
That's
rather
like
than
the
create
net type of shape.
a continuous, complete, singular structure in space that surrounds the sun. It'd be much easier to create like a swarm of drones. You know,
Whoa.
and basically what you could do is you send out these robots to Mercury, right? And they're self-replicating robots, you know, so they gather up.
Replicating.
Yeah, they gather
This
up
is some
materials.
super future shit.
They
Super
gather up
future
materials
shit.
from
I like it,
Mercury
though.
and use those materials to build more of themselves.
That's
And then
crazy.
build little rockets to send out little things to go into the sky and then surround the sun. And then they beam the energy back to Mercury to create more things to surround the sun, and then suddenly we've got all these like things that are surrounding the sun, harnessing all the solar energy that normally would just be going off into space, you know.
What?
And
I
we can
think we
send
should
that
harness
back.
the energy of the waves in the ocean first.
Yes.
But here's the thing.
I'm all about that.
Everyone, if you guys ever heard of the Fermi paradox, you know it's the concept that like we should have seen aliens by now in an
Oh my
infinite
God.
universe, you know.
Well, we have.
Oh, sure.
Given the amount of time that it took our society to become technologically advanced, and given
They're
how
hiding
many
from us. They're gonna kill us.
people,
if we
like how many
get too
galaxies
wild.
there are in, I mean,
Like
how many
a-
solar systems there are in the galaxy. Like, we should have been contacted by aliens, or we should have seen them by now.
Yeah, no, they're waiting for us to figure it out.
Yeah.
But the thing, that's the
We're
thing.
we're just
How
in
are
a
we going to see
terrarium, pretty much.
like a sun that's covered by a Dyson swarm that's not giving off any of its like light anymore? You know.
We're just in a terrarium right now for the extraterrestrial in my eyes. We're just we're somebody's pet in a future on a bigger
Just pets
scale.
all the way
Yeah.
down.
If you think about, if you watch a Rick
The
and Morty
amoeba's got like a
episode-
pet virus.
The Rick and Morty episode.
The virus has like a pet helium
Yeah, we're in a
atom.
battery.
Seriously,
We're just a fucking
just a
battery.
fucking battery.
The helium atom is like, I got my pet electron.
Yes, that's exactly what I mean. I'm just saying that they're out there.
Nobody
There's-
really knows.
Nobody really knows.
If I know one thing, is that I know nothing.
Exactly. How what was that again?
Jon Snow, I believe.
Jon-
Shut the fuck up.
I believe that was Abraham Lincoln.
There's a Martin Lawrence. Who was it?
No, it was like Socrates. I think.
Socrates, I think.
Yeah.
he said.
Actually, Socrates. Yeah.
Soccer. Tease.
Well,
Socrates.
that was fun.
Yeah,
That was a
fun.
great podcast.
Yeah.
I feel fulfilled. My science.
Actually,
I'm
I changed my
impregnated
mi-
with wonder.
I changed my mind. I'm gonna delete it.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's okay. It's probably for the better.
Yeah.
Delete the footage.
Also, yeah. That's
I'm a flat earther now.
Yeah.
This podcast has
Wait,
convinced me
is,
that
whoa, is Earth
science
not flat?
is bullshit.
Is Earth not flat? Wait a minute.
I think.
what
I
the
think.
fuck?
Actually.
Oh.
What's the other one? Isn't there another? Hollow Earth. No,
oh yeah,
it's a hollow
it's a
Earth.
hollow Earth. Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah, no, some people.
What is wrong with?
There's a whole
Uh-huh.
documentary for that one.
And then the space is a what
Space
is it?
is fake.
Yeah.
Yes.
The sky is
They
a
are,
hologram. Is that right?
They're
Fidget
going
spinner
to
Earth.
plan an
What the
alien
fuck is wrong with
invasion
people?
to be staged so that they can form the world government.
Oh, Area 51. Are we still doing that? By the way,
That happened already.
That
no.
happened.
Are we gonna do that? Is
What?
our own Area 51?
Make our own Area 51.
No, invade.
I'll make my own
Invade.
Area
Oh.
51.
Invade.
Blackjacks and hookers.
No, we're not doing that anymore. I'll do it my fucking self.
You gonna invade
Yeah.
Area 51?
I
All
want to see
right.
what's going on in there.
Send me Snapchats.
I friggin' will. You're not a part of the team though.
Oh, you know what I should talk about with Ethan and Andrew on the next podcast is being the only person in the world.
Oh man, that would
yeah.
be sad, but awesome for a little while. But I don't
Yeah,
think forever.
you can try. It's the would you rather is do it for an hour and a half or 10 years.
I think. Oh no. I do a lot of shit
I like
by
to think
myself.
that
I
at
think
the end of that 10 years, I'd be
alright.
like ripped. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
but I
What
would
were
be
we
like
saying
a fat piece of shit.
just a
I'd be
moment
like,
ago
I've had
about
no one to
science?
impress for 10 years.
I would be by myself for 10 years because I already plan on
What
moving
were
to
we
a
just
cabin
talking
in
about,
Vancouver
though?
Island by myself.
Do you remember
Science.
something about
Dimples?
Jesus Christ?
Sorry.
Somehow being the
No
only person in
siento.
the world related to it,
Um.
because it was like something you might have to deal with when you're the
Oh,
only
we
person
were
in the
talking
world.
about like shit would fall apart and like
Oh, yeah.
break and go bad. You'd have to learn how to farm because you would not
All
be
the
able.
food in the stores
The
would go bad.
running
nobody's
water
gonna
wouldn't be a
restock it.
thing. Although we have enough water in the Quabbin Reservoir to last 6 years if we have a drought. I just want that out there. Thank you
How
from
about
my
that?
company. So.
Quap and gang represent.
Drink tap
Yeah.
water.
Anyhow,
Okay, tap.
the next podcast should be a fun one. We're gonna
Yeah.
go whack with some goofy,
Can I be on
crazy
that one too?
stuff. Hey, maybe.
He goes maybe.
We'll see.
Okay.
I don't know who's
Well,
gonna be here
bye
when.
now.
It's been nice having you.
Been real.
I don't know.
You said he was deleting this podcast anyways.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right.
This sucks.
Yeah.
You guys are great.
This podcast sucks.
No, you guys are great, and the songs are great. So you should check them out when they get released.
No, you shouldn't.
Or don't.
I'm gonna delete those two.
Talk about antimatter over here. Let's go.
All right.
And that's where we'll wrap it up, yeah?
These headphones are better.
Yeah. My ear is.
Oh, I feel like I disappointed you guys, but that was fun.